Thank you, Ma. Thank you for being the very life of this assembly, of this live webinar event. Thank you for the gift of knowingness. Thank you to all the forms, diversified, infinite forms of Mother of Creation, of the Source of Creation, which are represented in all of us, in each of us, as our own celestial reality. Thank you to everyone's ancestors for their willingness to participate in this healing event and for their abiding love and constant support of the evolutionary process. And thank you to the divinity of each of us, each of our individual antennas of the universe, for coming together in this collective today and supporting our ability to, as a group, lift heavier weights than we can individually, to dive with detail into the fine mechanics of the healing process and the process of making deep, intimate friends with the physiology in order to set up a condition or stabilize a foundation by which healing is fast and efficient and powerful and delightful, is joyful, it's easy, it's graceful, comfortable, and it not only blesses ourselves, but it blesses the whole of mankind. Thank you for being with me. Thank you. Okay, so on the note of friendship, let's see. First things first, we have some new people. So for the new people, I'm going to do a very quick recap of what is energy work. And in the future, what I may do, just for everybody's information, is send out a link to a video that gives a brief recap of what is energy work if a person signs up for a webinar. So everybody can just see that before the webinar. Okay, so energy work is the process by which we direct our awareness intelligently in order to elicit specific effects in the physiology, in the field of consciousness, in the field of life. Awareness, in its simplest form, in its essential form, is being. It's pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure perception, pure light of the source of creation. It sits between physical and non-physical. That's why if somebody's looking at you or they have their attention on you, you feel it, because even though awareness isn't physical, you can still feel it when somebody puts their attention on you. So it has this quality of being part of everything. Both the unmanifest and the manifest levels of creation have this consciousness or awareness as fundamental to their nature. Also, we have ways of dividing up that big wholeness of creation of which we are. We are everything. We are everything. You are everything. You are everything that exists in the whole of creation. But the body is the antenna. It's like the sensitive organ of the self, which is perceiving everything. So there's a tendency to identify with the body, with the individual mind, emotional self, conscious mind personality. It's a tendency to think, well, I'm this, and all that's out there is something different from me. But really, you're all this. And this is just the eyeball. This is like the way that we recognize ourself. Everybody's universe is a little different, just a little uniquely different, because you are your whole universe, and it's a multiverse. And my universe is also part of your universe, and vice versa. So the beauty of that is that we can work together from the context of the infinity of my universe, the infinity of your universe. Putting these infinities together, we get infinities of infinities. And from that angle, it's possible to really move mountains. And it's possible to really heal the problems in the physiology which we've been told within the context of our individual universe and our wherever we may have gone to get help. Oh, well, you know, Western medicine doesn't have a cure for diabetes. Oh, I'm so sorry. We don't have anything we can do for that. We can give you palliative care, or we can whatever. When we put our universes together, not only are all the solutions available, but we have a facility also available that allows for the shifting of karma. Now, my teacher, Maharishi, once said that the laws of karma are unfathomable for the human mind. And that, I would say, is probably true. From the level of individuality, we can't possibly understand all the laws of karma. However, from the level of universality, it's not unfathomable. And from the level of individuality, even if it's unfathomable, what is fathomable is understanding the laws of nature that can move karma. I mean, everybody knows that, you know, there's an action and there's a reaction. That's pretty simple, basic human understanding stuff, right? But from the level of one's own collective nature or collectiveness, universality, the healing work that we do for ourselves blesses everyone. When you're healing, you're not just healing yourself. You're healing your ancestors. You're healing yourself in past physiologies. You're healing your descendants. You're healing your neighbors. You're healing everyone. And when that happens, that shifts karma. The whole world around you shifts. Your universe shifts. And when your universe shifts, then that imbalance that was behind the illness transforms into something really beautiful that supports life. So this is what we're doing in energy work. We're making shifts at a level of our own universality, at a level of our own collective nature. Shifts that are realigning everything with cosmic law, with cosmic evolution, with the heart of the mother of creation. We're going to talk more about love today. And so when we do that, it blesses everything. It blesses the whole creation. If I think this little unit, this little antenna is all that I am, then whatever I do to help myself isn't going to go very much past this. But when I start accessing the deeper levels of my own intelligence and the deepest level of being, then making the shift from that level blesses everything. Okay. So let's talk about friendship. We're befriending the body. There's a very old tradition in humanity, and it's been supported by lots of different social paradigms, religious paradigms, social structures such as the beauty industry, support the concept that the body is flawed and it's imperfect, and but by its very nature, born in sin. By its very nature, it's not a perfect thing, and that illusion is the first thing that needs to go. And I should say, I'd say 3/4 or 3/5 of the way through yesterday's session, there was a really, really huge, so big, I was not in a position to describe it in as much detail as I wanted, but hopefully I'll be able to give you guys more insights about that today. But that shift was founded on the principle of self-acceptance, self-love, self-adoration, being able to feel completely in the hands of divinity when one is in the body, in the shell of the body. We spent a lot of time talking about the body as divinity yesterday. So evolving from there today, because you'll all get reports, you'll all get a recording of yesterday's session. So evolving today, we want to talk about befriending the body once we've accepted that the body is basically consciousness. It's basically fundamentally that sweetest, most perfect essence of creation of which everything is comprised. Then we start looking for, how can I make the body feel really good? How can I produce the impulses of consciousness within this physiology? How can I speak to this body, befriending the body? How can I communicate with this body in such a way as to encourage the body to take a shape or form which is incredibly healthy, which is full of robust energy, which acts according to its own nature by, aligning sleep patterns with circadian rhythms and eating appropriate amounts of the healthiest kinds of food when hungry, and, all the things that we need to do in the body in order to really enjoy not only incredible health, but an incredible life, like a long life. The potential is here to extend life. So we all know that affirmations have a certain amount of influence. If I'm sitting around thinking to myself, my body is the sweet expression of the mother of the universe on this earth, then that's going to have a different effect than if I sit around thinking, oh, there's this little imperfection and that little imperfection. How annoying. I hate being here in this body because. So, yes. Question? Oh, you are so sweet. You are so sweet. So someone just sent in a question, but it was just a statement of gratitude, which was so sweet. She says she started to cry and that she's glued to my words and the energy that's coming out. Thank you. Huge, huge gift already. Thank you. All of you are a huge gift. Really. Amazing. Okay, thank you. So the thing is that affirmations have a certain amount of strength and power and energy and effect on the physical body. But one of the things we want to do today is we want to activate the ability to cultivate a communication system with the body, which is more powerful than affirmations, which is more fundamental, and will have a much more a deeper and more nourishing healing effect on the physiology. So that, of course, is the language of perception and experience. And on that note, I have to refer back to a conversation that I had with a dear friend who's staying here right now. After yet last night's webinar, he was saying that what we were talking about was like harvesting. And I thought, oh, that's perfect because it's fall. And this is exactly what we're doing, that vision, that what we're doing is we are harvesting energy frequencies or qualities of consciousness which have just the right energy frequency to produce the effect that the body really, really needs and loves and will heal the body deeply. So one that came up in the last week that I offered at yesterday's webinar, and I'd like to offer again in maybe a slightly different form just to give it another angle, like we're creating a diamond, right? It's a diamond and we're looking at it from different facets. And that is this amazing physical experience which is enjoyed by infants. Infants, babies, you've heard the term sleep like a baby. There is a peace. There is a peacefulness. If you're a mom or dad and you've ever had a little baby fall asleep on you, it's like there is such a feeling in that teeny little body of, I'm really safe. I'm so safe and I'm so secure and I'm so beloved that I'm just going to fall asleep now. And That sleep is this deep, deep, like with all the right hormones going at the right, firing in the right time sleep. And that feeling is one of the key feelings for really incredible health. That wonderful feeling that I'm bringing up the point of the baby because at some point of infancy, we've all experienced that feeling, and we want to reconnect with that feeling because remembering the feeling is like going to the sacred inner sanctum of the self and finding the beautiful flower in that location and taking a big sniff of it and realizing that this is my garden and this flower will always bloom for me as long as I love it and feed it. It will continue to be here. And even if it dies, I can just plant another, because that's the way plants are. They propagate themselves. So this brings me to another point, that when we've recollected that quality of sweetest or finest inner comfort, deep, deep, trusting peace in the body, then the principle or the premise is to offer that feeling into the field of pure, unbounded awareness. And in that level of creation, thank you. Okay, waves of energy are moving through the group. Nice job, everybody. Through everyone's intimate connection with their own inner silence, their own infinite being, that feeling gets dropped in quietly into that space. It not only multiplies and stabilizes and secures itself at a very, very, at like the quantum level of the physiology, but because of our group, it's also radiating out into the collective of mankind. So it's being offered, think of it like a song. I think of these little energy combinations that we harvest from the field of consciousness like little melodies almost. And as what happened yesterday, as this energy frequency is stabilizing in our physiologies and it's moving out into the field of the collective, it's somehow, for some reason, it wants to interface with this quality of deepest compassion, indescribable, like just huge compassion. And it also there's something about it that resonates really beautifully with a love of such vast proportion that it is not, like I said, indescribable. It is almost, it's incomparable. It's like it flows right to the heart of the mother of creation. The story of that love is really important, and I brought it up yesterday somewhat too, which is that as human beings, we are playing out the potential of divinity to have a vast variety of experiences. And in the spirit world, before we take the physical form, the trust and the knowingness of that incomparable love is so stable in the subtler structures of the being that people are willing to come into a human condition and sometimes take on very, very difficult lives, very difficult challenges, because inside there's that knowingness of, oh, my origins are really this love, this incredible, just oceanic, massive, permeating everything love. And so, even if I take on an awful lifetime that's just full of trauma and suffering or something, that then I'm allowing the being of all creation to become more flexible by bringing that love, bringing that infinite flow of divinity into even this sharp, sharp thorn on the edge of the flower or something, on the flower stem. So it helps to explain the lifetimes of those that we love or know who are not easy lifetimes. It helps to explain. But what we want to do is not the explaining, we want to also transform. We want to shift any negativity into a more positive vein to align the evolutionary flow with cosmic evolution. We want to unfold the full potential of the individual. So the first step is being easy with the imperfection. And all that, what I just said, in some ways was a continued elaboration of this just mass healing that took place at the end of yesterday's webinar, which I felt some of the incredibleness of it escaped because I wasn't, at that moment it was happening, it was like, oh, and I did my best to make some descriptions there, but there was a lot to it. There was a lot to it. And I want to be efficient too. So this step of being able to totally accept anything and everything, nothing that can't be accepted as far as people's behavior, as far as world events, as far as everything, just everything and anything, the ability to just, in a very, very simple way, just say, okay, that's what that is. Okay, that's what that is. That's what it is. And now how do we get back to wholeness? And that brings us to the point where we left yesterday's webinar a little unresolved, which was that if we're basing what we're doing on this premise that we can collect various resonations of consciousness, we can manifest a language of perception and experience between conscious mind, divine self, and the body, which will influence the body to promote ideal health. That which are those resonations? Which resonations are we really are like the key ones? Because we don't want to waste our time. We have what? A few decades. We have a collection of decades in these bodies, and then what? Unless, of course, we find the resonation for immortality, then maybe we have centuries or more. I don't know, but I haven't quite found that one yet, but why not? Why not? This is why we're here together as a collective, right? I mean, one can, okay, I could go off on a tangent right now on immortality, but I want to finish that other thought first, and then can we then return to immortality? That would be really nice, because I think we need the one before the other. So foundational information. And I didn't know we would be, if I'd known we were going to talk about immortality, I would have labeled the webinar as such. But it's you guys, it's amazingness that's bringing this forth. So let me say that with regards to the relationship between infinity, pure divinity, and the physiology, we're swinging awareness back and forth between something which is everything all combined into one, and I went into more detail on that yesterday, to the relative field of creation where, at least at this point, it looks like I'm over here and you're over there, and everybody is in their little isolated places, and we're sort of separate. Our little antennas are kind of separate from each other, at least physically. At least physically we're separate. So we have divisions. We have isolations, even when we're harvesting different resonations of consciousness, which is at a much deeper level, and they, like notes in a song, you know, they overlap each other and they interface with each other and so forth. Even then, there's still a kind of a discriminating element that this is different slightly from that. Really, it's all one thing, but the reality is that there are, and here we're talking about frequency in its purest form, there are ways in which various frequencies interface with each other. So some frequencies, and they go in cycles. There's a cyclic, because of the nature of the human nervous system, we are experiencing our world linearly. And at the finer levels of our consciousness, we are experiencing time as a wholeness. So we've got the wholeness experience of reality and the linear experience of reality at the same time, and they talk to each other. One says, oh, wholeness, wholeness, and the other says linear and little bits and pieces. And wholeness goes, oh, little bits and pieces? Well, I'm present in all of them. And the little bits and pieces say, oh, divinity, infinity, and wholeness are present in every part. So really, it's not divided. So there's an integration, and this is what I'm doing, is I'm breaking down the resonation of integration for us right now, so we can kind of see how that works, how we get these opposite values that start to knit together. And I talked about knitting together in one of my previous relationship webinars as well. Anyway, the point is that all of these flowers in the garden, all of these fruits in the garden, the sacred inner sanctum of the self, they have a kind of a rhythm to them. They have a flow. And some structures are on little tiny cycles like this, and some structures are on bigger cycles like that, and some structures are on bigger cycles like this, right? And then they're great big, and then they're cosmic, great big cosmic cycles of creation. And where the cycles align and where they go off of alignment from each other is significant. Because of the nature of our human physiologies being mostly earth material, we identify the alignment in a different place than beings who have bodies that are very, very fine by nature. Like beings not in a court, like the sun is full of life. The sun is just radiant with life. In fact, it's the life of the sun that makes life on earth, right? And there's life being, there's being in the sun, which is different kind of bodies from our bodies, fire bodies. There are places that are just water. There are places that are air. Think of Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet, a gaseous planet, but there's life everywhere. If we look at life up here, it looks like it's all separate. But when we go down here, closer you get to the field of being, the more concentrated being becomes. And when you get to the field of pure being, there's nothing but being. So at some point, we can say that there's literally being everywhere. This particle of air right here has being in it. I can't see it as a corporeal form, but there's life there. There's life everywhere. Everywhere is full of life. So they recognize different beginnings and endings to the cycles. So when we're befriending the body, what we want to do is we want to position our conscious mind, personality, self in such a way as to honor the cycles that are associated with these physical gifts that we have been blessed with from the divine, that our divine being manifest. We want to honor those rhythms, that key signature, the key signature of human life on earth. And as I said that, it's very interesting what happened. The whole of humanity reflected back into our group a download of information regarding the nature of these cycles within the family of humanity. There are quite a few variations in human form throughout. If we look over the whole earth, some people have dark hair, dark skin, light skin, whatever, all the differences, all the variations. But there are certain cycles and rhythms which are universally affecting all physiologies on earth. And the beauty of what we're doing is that this group, our group, is so coherent that we're able to connect up in a coherent manner to the whole of humanity, which is what's happening right now. And what we've been doing as we've been working through the first part of this webinar is we've been offering this incredible peace, with this abiding compassion, this deep, deep compassion moving out through our collective to the whole of humanity. And as we've been doing that, it's been creating changes in the family of humanity. And this has been reflecting back into the group as upliftment of our karma, which is creating the foundation to heal our physiologies. However, the collective is now ready to support our ability to understand in more detail the nature of these rhythms and how to work within the context of rhythms that have, in some degree, they're set, and in some degree, they're also flexible. At a very sort of dense level of creation, these rhythms have a fairly set pattern. They go into being like consonant or harmonious to being dissonant and chaotic, and then they come back to consonant again, and then they become dissonant again, then they become consonant again. And there's this sort of wave experience that it's like we're in an ocean of consciousness, and within the ocean of consciousness, these waves are continuing to wash over us. And the waves have moments of coherence and then moments of dissonance and moments of coherence, and etc. And the moments of coherence are extremely sweet because the moments of dissonance were not sweet. Were so jarring or grating. And the compassion that's flowing through the group, because we're working with the whole of humanity now, for those individuals who live very hard lives. You know, there are children who are being put in armies in Africa, little children, and there are things that different, very difficult lives that people are having to live in different places. Their commitment to the evolution of the mother of creation to take on a life that is so difficult and so painful mentally, emotionally, physically, that it's forcing the life is like it's creating a form that allows divinity to stretch its capacity to love and stretch its capacity to expand into the field of the relative. And Earth is just one planet in this, they call it Goldilocks zone in our galaxy, where we're not so close to the center of the galaxy that we're overwhelmed by radiation, but we're not so far out that we don't have any, heavy metals or anything on which to build. So we're in this Goldilocks zone in here, and there are lots of planets, and there are lots of worlds, and there are all kinds of experiences going down everywhere. So the mother of creation, that love is so stabilized at that level. And I did some reading out of a really beautiful book that I mentioned yesterday. That's a book of near-death experiences that are designed to uplift the soul of those who are passing on, to comfort people who are dying. And there are certain universal principles that come up in these near-death experiences. And one of them is the awareness, the cognition of this love that is just bigger than any detail of anybody's life ever. And that's what wants to move into those very, very dissonant lifetimes. Ultimately, in order for us to heal, everybody has to heal. This is at least what seems to be the pattern that I have perceived now over nearly coming up on a decade of doing this energy work full out. Like, honestly, I'm out here doing this. Even though for most of my life I've been watching and participating, the pattern is that being wants to penetrate deeper and deeper and deeper into the soul of suffering, and to whatever sufferings or dissonances are there, in order to create larger and larger resolutions and completions and fullnesses, to make bigger and bigger flowers come out of muddier ponds. So it's all a big illusory play of creation, you make the mud, and then you make the lotus come out of the mud, and you can't make the lotus if the mud isn't also there first. So here we're kind of addressing, for those who had questions about what actually causes the darkness or the stress or the imbalance in the first place. It's that there are these cycles of creation that interface with each other. You have a cycle going this way, but then you have another cycle over it going this way. And it points somewhere along that continuum where everything lines up, and it's like, oh, wow, total resolution, completion, amazing. Now we are in honeymoon phase because we're moving off into a whole new cycle, like the 2012 that happened a few years ago. However, those grating or jarring moments where it doesn't line up are our tools. Remember, we talked at the beginning of this webinar about harvesting energy frequencies. Harvesting energy frequencies. So when we're faced with something dissonant in the physiology, or a feeling which is really uncomfortable, it has a very specific resonation to it. You go into a house that's, sometimes locations come that have really dissonant energies in them. Everybody remembers at some point in their life going into a house or a location or a place where things didn't go well. And the feeling is still sitting there in the energy frequency. And it makes a shape. And I'm actually feeling this as we're talking about it, because one of the points that's coming up since we're working in the world collective right now is these are little sore spots on Mother's body, Mother Earth's body, are these, places where the Nazi concentration camps or other events, such events. And they make a very specific shape or flavor or form, and like a weed in the garden. And because we're the gardeners, what we do is we offer that dissonance into the field of being, and the field of being completes everything. It is totality. It is resolution, completion. And so it brings back, on the level of feeling, that's a feeling that comes back, is the exact energy structure required to amend or complete or resolve that dissonant feeling. Oh, wow, my screen just got lighter. Did you see that? I saw that. Maybe it only shows up on my screen. I don't know. So what's happening is quietly, I'm just letting that energy sink into the physiology. My own physiology, I'm doing it. We're doing it. We are doing it. We are doing it on the level of the collective. We are doing it. We are offering it to all of humanity at the same time we're doing it ourselves. Is what is that energy frequency? Each of those little spots, so sore spots on the body of Mother Earth, they each have their own different little specific flavor of that dissonance. And I know for some of you, there are little sore spots inside the body, right? So they have their little dissonant flavor to them, and those dissonant little flavors have an exact resolution. There's an energy frequency that exactly resolves that thing on the level of consciousness first. But once we get it stabilized and the wholeness reestablished in those spots, then the physical form follows suit spontaneously and says, oh, well, feels good on this spot now. Let's build a temple. Let's make a little shrine to our appreciation and love of the divinity of creation, which is everywhere. There is definitely a holiness, a deeply silent. There's a quality of capability. One of the resonations, I'm picking apart this energy frequency resonation that we have just harvested as a collective. And thank you, everybody, because I don't know if I probably couldn't have harvested this on my own. It took our group to do this. So I'm going to do my best as the mouth over here. I'm going to do my best to describe to everyone as we describe. That's going to help. Putting it in words helps to define what we've just experienced, and also helps us to know it in more detail. So there's a quality of capability. I can deal with this. I am fully capable. Underlying all the flavors that we're picking up in this webinar is this irrefutable, immutable, indescribable love that goes along with a physiological production of neurochemicals that makes the body feel like that baby. That baby. So that itself is the medicine. That's the medicine that's underlying all this other. Now what we're doing is we're going more into the detail and we're applying it. How do we apply that medicine in the case of a Nazi concentration camp? How do we apply it in some place in Africa where some horrible massacre took place, or whatever, all the different sore spots? Or how do we apply it in those specific sore spots inside the body that have been, for some whatever reason, cropping up? Now we know the reason, because we were supposed to learn how to heal this in a way that changes reality, transforms the universe. We're transforming Earth and our life and our universe for everyone, for ourselves. And who is doing it? When I say we, that means divine being is doing it, because there really isn't anything else. And if you want a description of that, you can go to yesterday's webinar. So I'm describing this energy frequency. Capability. It has a quality in it of a very, very innocent silence. Very, very much the antithesis of any kind of judgment or expectation. It's like a holding. It's like just going. It's like that. It's just like it's literally allowing anything to come out. Anything that needs to come out. And in so doing, it is an act of deepest devotion to the highest intelligence of all creation. It's like the baby falling asleep on mother's shoulder. Like there's just so much trust. It's like, Mom, wherever you take me, that's okay. So it's like that. It's like, Mom, wherever you take us, that's okay. So that quality is there too, but there's also this amazing flow of capability of all resources, of all understanding, of all procedures, of whatever is required to meet each situation, to complete each situation, to resolve, to bring in that softness. And we've never, this is the first time I've experienced in a webinar that we're working so consistently for such a long period of time with the entire collective of humanity. It's huge. It's a huge privilege. It means that the Mother of Creation is feeling the same way to us that we are to her, because she's like, oh, this group is here. Well, they can just, what can be done? What is going to create then? Anything. Anything that we need to create, we can create here from this thing. So what I'm feeling is a warmth is rising up. Definitely feeling it in my hands here. A warmth is rising up. And it's awakening a deeper level of intelligence in the immune system of everyone watching. Thank you. Everyone who watched yesterday needs to watch this one today too, because there are healings in here for you guys too. Immune system healing. Immune system is that part of the body which is basically responsible for keeping the body well. So, and there seems to be a very interesting upgrade taking place in the spleen. Usually we think of the thymus as the It's about where my little necklace is here inside the chest, as the overseeing administrator of the immune system. But we've done lots and lots of work with that center of the heart chakra in times past. But the spleen, oh, that's so interesting. Vision is opening up. The spleen on one side, I'm a mirror image to you guys. So I guess for you guys, the spleen's on this side and the liver's on that side. Spleen and liver as like the two guardians at the gate of the heart. The two guardians at the gate of the heart chakra, and that they have this role that they play of protecting the body, purifying the body, and the warmth that's there is the warmth of that love. So what's happening is the warmth of the love of the mother of creation is communicating to the DNA in the human body for us in this group, and then it's right now we're doing it within our group, and then we can pass this more out to the rest of humanity. And it's restructuring an appreciative understanding for these two organs, spleen and liver, of their full potential. So in other words, your own divinity is making a self-referral loop, and it's talking to your liver and your spleen, and it is communicating information to them that they need in order to restructure themselves to be more healthy. But it's also communicating down at a very fine, because this is a very subtle communication. This is we've just harvested some treasure from our inner sanctum here, which is this download of information that's going into the liver and spleen. And it's affecting DNA. It's affecting at a molecular level of these organs, which means it's not just communicating to the organs right now. It's communicating deep in the subcellular level of the organs so that they are receiving what's like a blueprint. This, what we've just harvested, this energy frequency download coming in is coming in like a blueprint. And as it speaks to the DNA of the liver and the spleen, it also communicates that information to the ancestors and to the offspring, to the descendants. So this is a restructuring for humanity. This is a restructuring for our physiologies. Oh, you guys did this. I didn't. I'm just the mouth, remember? You guys are amazing. So, but my two hands are up here, one for the liver, one for the spleen. Just throwing that out there. So what's happening is one of the things that's happening is I'm feeling a release of discordant feelings that have been stored in those organs for a little while. Particularly the spleen had the opposite of the feeling of capability. It was feeling a little like it had held ancestrally for centuries the idea that it wasn't a very important organ, or that it didn't appreciate its full potential. So it's receiving this completion, that there is an understanding of what that potential is in the spleen to keep and maintain health in the body and to support the full potential of the immune system as well. And now I'm not a doctor, so I don't speak necessarily from a very medical point of view, but if there are any doctors in the audience, it would be just like amazing to get some of your feedback of how this ties in, or dovetails in with an allopathic perspective. Endocrine system, that there is this upgrade in the spleen and the liver, both are positioning these two organs to have a more supportive role in the physiology in relationship to the endocrine system and the production of neurochemicals. I'm seeing also proteins, the way we metabolize, but also evidently, and this I don't know because I'm not a doctor, but the body is able to create proteins. Evidently, the body can make, there's certain proteins that the body can make. So that's very interesting because we know that proteins play a really interesting role in the health process in the body. And please forgive me, if I were if I'd studied Western medicine, I probably could tell you guys a lot more, because this download that's coming into the physiology is now rolling out into levels of detail that have to do with an allopathic understanding of the physiology that's way beyond me. So I'm not knowledgeable enough in this area to be able to give you really a lot of the fine details of what I'm seeing now at this point, but I can explain and describe it energetically. So energetically, there was a great big wave of purification of grief and sadness, and the liver and spleen also. The grief and sadness were releasing due to the response, the physiological or the emotional response to not being able to fulfill one's full potential. And that impulse was for the world. That came out of this group and is offered to all of humanity, because those individuals who are sacrificing themselves to live lives that are extremely discordant are individuals who have the potential to live beautiful lives, lives of being able to make great contributions to humanity, or lives of great, great creativity or happiness or goodness. So it's creating some completion for them at a deep level of their beings to help turn around or curb the directional thrust of lifetimes that are moving down very, very dark or painful paths. And another thing I'm seeing is that on the face of the earth and in the soup of consciousness where we're living, but still up in kind of the denser levels of, if this is a bubble diagram and that pure being is down here and the physical is up here, these denser levels of the physiology, there are energy frequencies or structures that are very, very incoherent and jarring and grating. And they're not physically manifest. And I'm asking into the collective of our own divinity here if there is something that can be done for these. You can think of at an etheric level. When I mentioned massacres in Africa, this is a lovely webinar, isn't it? Anyway, no, it's terrible when that kind of thing happens, but it leaves these resonations that they're not just subtle, they come up to very, very dense levels of the, not to the necessarily physical manifest, but near, so that you can feel them palpably. And those, I'm asking if they're coming up to awareness, and our group has the privilege and capacity and opportunity to balance those imbalances. What we can do, what can be done. So I'm just offering that back into infinity. Beautiful. Oh, I love this. So the upgrade that just took place for the spleen and the liver created a situation in our physiologies where there's an intelligence which can address the most difficult problems that our world is facing right now. Really, ultimately, those two organs are designed to deal with it. I did read a little bit about the spleen the other day. Its role is to protect your heart. Isn't that interesting? I mean, it does other things too, but it's very intimately related both to the digestive process and to the immune process. And it's like a storage ground for a lot of the immune system cells, white blood cells, I think. Anyway, these two organs are like the two keepers at the gate of the heart chakra, as I said before. And they are now in a position to protect in a way that they were not able to before. And they hum together like two parts of the same musical instrument working together to produce an effect which uplifts life. And so I do know a little bit about music. And what I know about music is that to produce any musical effect, you need two things. You need a resonator and you need a vibrate. Something that vibrates and something that resonates, these two. So if I take this little trivet and I go, it becomes a musical instrument. What's vibrating is the clay body of the trivet. But what's resonating is the space of the room becomes the silent resonator. So the resonation is silence. Isn't that pretty? I like that anyway. Okay, so the resonation is the silence of eternal being. The vibration is the impulse that is designed to heal whatever the specific imbalance is. Between the spleen and the liver, and this is the beauty of the human body as the instrument rather than a piece of clay, although that works too, is that these two organs are, you think of them like the mirrors on either side of a chamber. You've got one on one side and one on the other, and they can look at each other. They can talk to each other. They speak slightly differently, and as a result, like two eyes seeing from slightly different angles, they provide perspective for each other on the protection of the body process. And when one is speaking, the other one is holding silence. And when the other one is speaking, the first one is holding silence. So they act as resonators and reflectors. And as I'm saying that, I'm kind of checking in with some of the other organs in that area, because what if they both speak at the same time and the silence is this chakra area. These chakras can act as the silent resonators for the speech of this liver and the spleen to offer their gift to humanity, to the family of humanity, like two eyes seeing, like two voices singing in perfect harmony. They understand the principle of protecting and healing the body in a very big way. And as that happens, I don't know about you guys, but as that happens, you might notice in your own torsos that there's a lot of light radiating out of this midsection of the physiology. It's like they're filled with the light of divine being and happiness, joy. And this is so beautiful because this liver and spleen are closest to the third chakra, which is related to also wealth. It's the sun's, the solar plexus chakra. And so I know the frequency that I'm feeling here, this bliss. Again, we're harvesting another frequency, which is an incredibly joyful, light, blissful. It goes along with the it goes along with that energy of, oh, what's going to happen next? And that energy is also one of the key components of wealth. That joyful, light, warm, rich sunlight energy that is even whiter. It looks like even whiter. When I think of the sun, I'm seeing a kind of a yellowish, goldish energy, but when I'm looking at everybody's livers and spleens, I'm seeing a light that's very pristine, very pure white, more like diamonds than like gold, I guess. But even though it can be related to the expansion of wealth, health is wealth. I think Benjamin Franklin said that. So, yeah, it's a form of wealth. It's a form of incredible wealth. And we know, especially, God bless the Europeans who are with us tonight. But in America, the medical establishment and the way the insurance companies work and everything, boy, bad health really does drain your wealth. If you get sick, man, you're in trouble. It's really costly to get sick in America. But I'm glad that European countries are so much more sensible. May we someday be sensible like you. Everybody deserves to be taken care of effortlessly. Now we're learning to, and why? Maybe that's why this is coming out of America. Because in America, the medical programs are such, they are so costly, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but you pay anyway, that we are leveraging that reality in the collective consciousness here in America to create a method of healing, which is, aside from the cost of the webinars, $25, or, if you participate in any of my programs, which are, for the most part, quite cheap compared to, anyway, I shouldn't compare. But anyway, you get the picture. The idea is we become self-sufficient. This is the idea. Not only do we become self-sufficient in our own ability to heal ourselves, but as we're doing this, we are creating greater capability and self-sufficiency in the collective consciousness. So even people who will never see my webinars will be able to self-heal better because we had the webinar. Because of the webinar, they can heal better. The guys who cut down some trees for us yesterday, they probably won't ever see my webinars. But everybody can use some good healing. So as we sing this song of the story of the healing capacity of the physiology coming into its full potential, and the left side and the right side, the two keepers in the gate, and let the silence, which is the soul of all aspects of the self, but which can act as a resonating chamber in the heart and in the solar plexus, and looks like second chakra too. Okay, this is something more coming with this. You've got these two organs, one on each side, and the resonance, the silent resonance, is being held in heart chakra, third chakra, and the navel chakra is just a little below the navel. These resonating chambers are significant because if I want to make music and I want to make a vibration, if I make a vibration with my lips, that's not really music, folks. That's the vibration, great. And this room is being my resonating chamber, but, and I actually have a horn over here I could pick up and play for you, but it's too much, it would take too long. You can imagine that I'm holding a baritone horn in my hand or a trumpet or something. If I put a resonating chamber around the vibration, which has been selectively created to maximize the effectiveness of that vibration, then becomes beautiful music. It becomes beautiful music, not because of the vibration alone. The vibration does have something to do with it. The speed of the vibration has to do with the pitch that I produce and also the timbre of the pitch. But the resonating chamber is the key to turning something from being incoherent sound into being beautiful music. Oh, and this ties in with the cycles. Because in any cycle, basically the cycle is going to be a cycle. A cycle that looks like this is actually, if you turn it on its end, it looks like this, right? So on the side, it looks like that, but turn it around and it's going, and it's actually wholeness. It's a circle, it's a totality. And within that cycle, there is a resonating chamber. There is the silence in the middle of that cycle. I'm cluing in with that silence because we're getting another download having to do with how to reconstruct the silent resonating chambers in our chakras, to use the chakras, because the chakras have lots of different potentials. We've all known about them for a long time, and we've known for a long time that they also can be resonators. But the concept of using the chakra as a we've known for a long time that they can create the vibrations. You can send little beams of consciousness, intention. I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get something yummy. You know, you can send out those little beams of consciousness from the chakras, but that they can sit in silence, and that in their silence they act as resonators to promote maximum effectiveness of the vibrations which are sitting in the various organs of the physiology. And for those of you who have issues with the nervous system, know that this works the same way with the nervous system that it works with the liver and the spleen. That we can allow the resonation, the silent space that's held by the chakras. When the space is a certain shape, you get a baritone horn. When it's a different shape, you get a trombone. Trombone and baritone, their mouthpiece is the same size. They play in the same key. They read the same music, but they sound different because the resonating chamber is a little different. So this download of information, this has to do with the shape of infinity. The shape of infinite silence. The shape of silence. Different silent spaces allow the song, which are these energy frequencies that we've been harvesting, to express itself in unique ways, in different ways. Oh, a question came up. How exciting a question. Hello. Hi, loving this webinar. Is it possible for humans to start creating their own vitamin C like many other mammals? Oh, that's brilliant. I didn't even know other mammals could do that. Thank you for offering that vision. If so, can we do a healing to restructure the organs to do this? Thank you and blessings. Ooh, that's really cool. What a great, cool, awesome idea. Okay, so let's just ask our divine being and see how that can be done. Obviously, we've already talked a little bit about creating proteins, different kinds of proteins for the body. And of course, we're working with the endocrine system so that structure, and the endocrine, and of course the immune system, so that we're structuring so much balance so that we're producing specific neurochemicals. And I'm just looking at our foundation. And of course, there's that cuddly feeling, that's that cuddly baby on your shoulder feeling, which very clearly produces oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. It causes the body to start producing those, and endorphins. When the baby sleeps, you get the endorphins. Oh, so very nice. And those very healing. Vitamin C, I know, I was just thinking about folic acid this morning too, because that's one of those elements in the body that has to be replenished through food in order to be at healthy levels. At least this is what we've been told by our nutritional experts in the field of nutrition say that certain nutritional elements need to be replenished on a regular basis in order to stay healthy, or for the body to stay healthy. And folic acid is also one of them. And vitamin C is also one of them. So what I'm doing is I'm going into my own silence, and I'm just looking at the energy frequency of vitamin C. I personally like to eat the peel off of organic oranges because it's just bursting with vitamin C. And it has no calories or carbs or anything, and the body metabolizes it really well. But So I'm kind of recalling back to the memory of eating some orange peel with a little cinnamon and walnuts on there, and it's just like, it's a treat, really. Um, the other thing I'm looking into is those other animals that produce vitamin C within their own bodies. Where and how are they producing it? And one of the things I'm seeing are some animals have organs that allow them to do that, that are different from human organs. So I'm not seeing the same organ in the human body that the animals that do that have. That doesn't mean we can't create such an organ. It doesn't mean we can't modify organs that we already possess in order to add that capability in there. Another thing I'm seeing about vitamin C is there's a relationship between vitamin C and sunlight. Of course, basically all our food originates back to sunlight because the sun comes to the earth and that feeds the plants, and the plants go through their photosynthesis, you know, and they produce chlorophyll and all the other, I think chlorophyll is part of that photosynthesis process, and they, you know, they produce different kinds of carbohydrates within their own bodies in order for them to live. And then people eat plants, or animals eat plants, and then people eat animals, but everything goes back to sunlight ultimately. And from sunlight, all the different nutritional structures can be created. So one of the first things that's coming is that connection to the sun, direct connection to the sun, is one of the keys for producing balanced nutritional structures in the physiology, including vitamin C. And for any of you who are or are not familiar with the concept of sun gazing, this ties into the idea of sun gazing, that there are yogis in India who don't eat, and yet they live like well and long. You know, I've got a picture over there on my table of a Indian yogi who's like 800 years old. And he doesn't look old. I mean, he looks like, you know, middle-aged, maybe smooth, a good middle-aged, like smooth-skinned middle-aged guy, right? So we know that there are energies in the sun which are fundamental to the process of nourishing the body, and that those energies are the ones that will allow us to produce whatever vitamins, whatever minerals, whatever materials we need to live balanced. Folic acid. So sun gazing is definitely one of the principles. And for that, I could include a brief link in the follow-up to my team, just throwing that out there. When we send the follow-up letter, we can include a link that describes how to sun gaze. It's also incredibly good for eyesight. Sun gazing heals the eyes. If you have floaters, you know, those little, speaking of the body producing protein, those little protein chains that get on the eyes, it cleans them off. I had them a lot, like about 10 years ago. I had them a lot. And now I don't have them at all. I never have them. And it's because I was sun gazing, even for a few seconds, even 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Don't do it when the sun is high in the sky. It has to be within 15 degrees of the horizon, and rising sun is best. So as close to the horizon as you can get, you can spend a couple seconds and look at that pretty orange sun as it comes up on the horizon, and it'll clean those floaters off your eyes. Oh, there's another question. Hi, since the thyroid is expert at sensing nutritional vibrations of food, can it also create these vibrations that it has harvested? Oh, what a great question. Yes, I love it. You guys are sending in the most wonderful questions today. Thank you. Thank you for your engagement in the process. The thyroid, yes. Every organ has the ability to both receive and promote energy frequencies. And the thyroid is interesting because, like the two gatekeepers, the liver and the spleen, the thyroid is a kind of little butterfly. I can't make the shape too well with my fingers, but like a little butterfly shaped organ right here in the neck. And it's already automatically got two sides, just like the two eyes, right? So it's right there. And my question is, and I'm just asking the thyroid, I'm asking it, can the thyroid be so flexible as to receive vibrations, transmit vibrations, hold silence? So that's three different things I'm asking the thyroid if it can do. And then I'm going to ask it if it can get fancy pants, and if it can do that because it's in a dual position, if it can do that with the two sides, like the mirrors reflecting each other. If one side of the thyroid could produce a vibration that would reflect off, the other side could be the resonator. You've got the vibration, then you've got the resonator, or this side can be the vibration, the resonator, and that the thyroid itself can take on that status of the mirror chamber, which is able to produce a vibration, and then the vibration vibrates back and forth to infinity, thus perpetuating that vibration or that intention, the intention behind the vibration. It then perpetuates that all the way out, so many layers of it that it manifests physically. We can do it. It takes a little bit of attention, and everybody's receiving upgrades for their thyroid right now, downloading information into the God presence. For those who we're kind of at the end of our webinar, so you know, we're doing it fast now. I'm not giving a lot of description to that download, but it's there, you guys, it's there. Okay, one more. You could mention the new, oh, yes, this is from one of my team members. Right, thank you. Okay, so here's what we're going to put in the letter that we send to you. We're going to put the name of the book, which I referenced yesterday, because it's just a real gem of a little book. There's no expectations, but you might find it's a very interesting book, even if you're not dying. It's got lots of just beautiful information in it. That's number one. A Journey of the Heart, Journey to the Heart, is it called? The Journey Home. The Journey Home by the Michael and Linda Quinn. So we'll put that link in the email. We'll put the link to the sun gazing, and we're putting a link to our new Reddit site, which just came up this last week, and it's a forum where you can go and ask questions about energy healing. And what I did was I sent the link out to all my friends who are energy healers, and I've got like dozens of friends who are energy healers, so that they can all go there and they can answer people's questions about energy healing, and you know, we can talk about it. It's a place where we can talk about it. If you have ideas, if you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have anything, it's one of the things about Reddit that makes it such a gem is that it's very unregulated. So, you know, a lot of different stuff can bubble up on Reddit, which is cool. At the same time, because it's unregulated, one of the things that I see in it, which I have no problem with, I kind of like, there's a little bit of a slightly messiness there, because you don't know, anybody could come in and say anything or do anything or anything. But it is a nice open space. So we'll include that as well. And I'd love to see you guys there, and I go check there regularly. And if you have any questions, you can ask me there, or you can email me directly. And I guess I'd just like to finish up by saying that I love everybody dearly, and I am so incredibly grateful that we had this time together this morning. And I feel as if we kind of hopped along and made lots of great progress in this area of self-healing, promoting the ability to self-heal. You know, some of the concepts were sort of abstract, but luckily we were also able to do some concrete work as well. And as I said, I'm wide open to communicating with everybody on that. And the Reddit is one thing coming up, and there's another website coming up pretty soon, and I won't I'm not going to mention it right now because I don't think it's completely ready, but we'll have some other formats for getting more information faster and free as soon as we can. We're working on at least 2 others, a knowledge base and then another website also where we discuss topics related to this work. So, and non-dualism and so forth. So anyway, thank you all for joining me. It's been an amazing ride this morning. I just loved being in your presence. It's always a real honor and a privilege to be here. And I'm losing words to describe how much I love everybody. Thank you for being with me. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting. I hope you have a beautiful Labor Day weekend to all. And I look forward to connecting with everybody again in the future. Thank you. Thank you. Closing the meeting. Bye.